Will SaucerSwap integrate bridges natively to the front end? Hyperlink to Hashport does not seem like a good option.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. So SaucerSwap will integrate a bridge natively on our front end. This is one of our higher priorities, and we hope to deliver an unparalleled UI UX. So the hyperlink to Hashport's web app, which is currently on our site, is a stopgap solution until the aforementioned is implemented.
How many centralized exchanges do you plan on listing on within the next few months?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've been advised that 2 centralized exchanges are kind of the minimum requirement. So with that in mind, we do have one listing that's in process now. Spoke about it on the last AMA, and we've been moving forward with that. And we're actively seeking a candidate for a second centralized exchange listing, one that has a different user base demographic than the one that we're currently exploring. And then, yeah, it's kind of hard to give an exact answer for how many we're going to list on the next few months. I would just say the minimum will be 2.
We've been doing quite a bit of biz dev since our public launch, both with upcoming Hedera projects and cross-chain projects seeking to deploy on our network. So although we can't disclose anything at this time, know that we are in talks with projects launching on Hexxd, for example, companies interested in liquidity provisioning, cross-chain DeFi protocols, centralized exchanges, as Peter had mentioned earlier, among others. So partnerships will be announced in due time.
A question from Af. Anything the community can do more to help grow our network?
Yeah. Well, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So for growing the network, I would say the best thing to do is activate your own personal network. So if you are, part of the SaucerSwap community, you want to see SaucerSwap succeed, the single most powerful thing you can do is tell a friend or a friend of a friend or a group of friends about SaucerSwap. And whether they have experience in DeFi or not doesn't really matter. You can, if they don't, you can always point them to our video tutorial series on YouTube. Should be pretty good for onboarding. And if they don't know about Hedera, it's even better. You can link them to, one of the classic videos. I think the first one I saw that got me really excited was Lehman Baird's lecture at Harvard. So that's always a good one to link. And then in addition to that, word of mouth, social media is a powerful tool. So if you want to see SaucerSwap succeed, get on Twitter, Reddit, Telegram, find out communities of people either just interested in Web3 or DeFi, and talk about DeFi on Hedera and how it changes the game for decentralized finance. There are, I would say those are probably the 2 best ways that the community can help grow SaucerSwap and ensure its success, and also Hedera DeFi at large. And then I'll also just add an addendum that, adding or supporting projects that go through Hexxd either via an IDO or an INO. And Hexxd is our IDO Launchpad partner, also a fellow member of the Hedera DeFi Alliance. That would be another great way to get involved and help push the ecosystem development along.
Are you in talks with other wallet developers to integrate swapping in DApp?
So this is a pretty easy one to answer. Answer is simply yes. We are actively working with wallet developers to integrate in wallet swaps.
And a question from Box Monkey. Will NFT holders be able to have early access to staking like they did with the LPs?
Yeah, so this is something we're not decided on for now. It's certainly an option. One thing to note is that we already have some plans for Plonky Buck NFTs related to community pools, which work in tandem with the Infinity Pool. For those of you who don't know, the Infinity Pool is the name that we've given to the single stake or single-sided staking pool for Sauce. So already have some plans for the Blanc Epoch NFTs in that schema. And we'll just keep listening to the feedback from the community in order to make the best decision about any type of early access.
A question from Sammy17 is mechanism of distribution of 5/6 of transaction fee to the liquidity providers should be more transparent and explained. And Ed, can you see the fee earnings or swap fees you're getting for liquidity pairs on the exchange site? Not farming earnings, trading fees. Thanks. And love SaucerSwap. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, so the 0.25% fee liquidity providers receive for every swap that is made in their pair is directly accumulated in the LP, increasing in value, not quantity, of Saucer LP tokens. And the LP reward APR, which is displayed on our analytics, is a measure of the increase in LP token value, and it can be calculated by annualizing the quotient of earned fees to liquidity. So if the APR is 10%, your LP tokens will have appreciated in value by this percentage in a year's time, is what that's measuring. So you can see the total earned fees for each LP on SaucerSwap's analytics subdomain is mentioned. And to determine what your daily rewards are, simply multiply this value by your share of the pool.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I do want to also just jump in and mention that, we are looking into ways to incorporate this data into an easily digestible form on the portfolio page. Portfolio page is, a great place for a user to see how much they earned in LP rewards. Also calculating, how much their pairs have been affected by impermanent loss. And their total farm awards, all coming out to a bottom line at the bottom. That's hugely valuable information for a user. So we that's where we want to take the portfolio page to improve the SaucerSwap user experience.
The next major feature to be added is an upgraded analytics. So that will be pushed this upcoming week, and included in this update is an overview page with liquidity and volume charts. Pages for individual tokens displaying liquidity, volume, and price charts, and also for pairs. So these pages will display charts for liquidity, volume, and ratios of pooled tokens. And then on the contract side of things, the next major feature will of course be single-sided staking, and shortly following this, community pools and the DAO-based governance.
What measures or early detection protocols do you have in place to help safeguard tokens on SaucerSwap?
Yeah, I can answer this one. So if it's an attack meant to shut down servers on SaucerSwap, we'd pretty much know right away, as the team is highly alert for these sort of stuff. A DDoS attack wouldn't get very far thanks to our domain name service protection, coupled with our reverse proxy that acts as a layer on top of our server. Not to mention, we have an experienced InfoSec developer on the team who advises us on what data to hide or to validate. He himself has stress tested the security of our system. Now, when it comes to the smart contracts, trying to attack it through the site wouldn't work, as the site itself is really an interface for the contracts. Now, there can be a malicious individual that could leverage an exploit of the smart contracts that is unknown to both the team and Hedera, but they'd have to be especially sophisticated with a strong understanding of the Hedera smart contract service. Now, the chances of that happening is similar to a meteor obliterating Earth. It's not exactly zero, but very, very low. That said, the SaucerSwap team will be on the watch for possible smart contract exploits and patch them up as soon as they are found.
Yeah, and I might also add that we are actively looking into ImmuneFi as a third-party bug bounty platform. So here, a community of white hackers or white hatters would be monetarily incentivized to search for potential vulnerabilities in our code. and if found, would be passed along to our team to remediate. So ImmuneFi is used by like many large-scale Web3 protocols, including like MakerDAO, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, etc. So it's pretty much the industry standard.
What is the current go-to-market strategy to reach outside the Hedera ecosystem?
Yeah, so we have basically 3 arms for this strategy. The first one is influencer marketing. The second is a more boots on the ground approach, and the third is partnerships, cross-chain partnerships. So, with regards to influencer marketing, we have a spreadsheet of the top influencers from certain chains. Some of the chains that we've been looking at the strongest have been Phantom, Avalanche, and Algorand. And we have been establishing relationships with these influencers to help spread the word of Hedera DeFi. It's primarily in the positioning of communicating some of the the yield farm opportunities on SaucerSwap, and some of the key value propositions of Hedera DeFi. And so the more boots on the ground approach is our community managers joining other communities, primarily on Discord and Telegram, and making connections to help spread the word of Hedera DeFi in an informative and educational way. And this is what I talked about before, making those real connections. There's really no replacement for that. So in terms of the partnerships, cross-chain partnerships, there's quite a lot of opportunities here. There are protocols such as yield optimizers, other DEXs, lending and borrowing protocols, stuff like that from other chains. And this is an established strategy for expanding reach and influence to other chains. So it would be those 3 main approaches.
We're making good progress on the single-sided staking contracts, and we aim to deploy this fall. And as a quick reminder, Saucer is similar to Stater's HBAR-X, so namely a receipt token that represents your share of the Infinity Pool. And in terms of the role it will play with new token launches, you can stake it in community pools that correspond to projects who have recently done an IDO or INO on Hexxd. So to that end, Saucer is a vehicle for obtaining HTS token emissions, while simultaneously earning rewards from Sauce buybacks in the Infinity Pool. So we plan on also giving Saucer governance functions, whether directly or indirectly, and we'll expound on that more at a later date. At the moment, there are no plans to expand the scope of single-sided staking beyond Sauce, as this is too much of a departure from our AMM model, which relies on pair liquidity. I'm sure, as you've all noticed, the market has been quite volatile since our last AMA. Despite this, SaucerSwap continues to grow. So our liquidity mining program has been very effective at bootstrapping liquidity for a range of assets, both Hedera native and ported from other chains. There's currently 223 million HBAR, or $14 million of liquidity, spread across 65 liquidity pools and 35 tokens. And in terms of Sauce, 40% of the circulating market value is locked up in the protocol, with the Sauce HBAR pool exceeding $4 million of deposited assets now. In terms of trading metrics, total cumulative volume has surpassed $20 million in the first 3 weeks, and there have been over 75,000 swapping events to date.
Yeah, and to jump on where you left off there, Joe, I think looking at our socials, we've also seen some great organic growth. One thing that we will never do ever is buy followers. In my opinion, that's got to be one of the most bearish things a project can do. If you see a Twitter account that shoots up from 500 or 1,000 to 5,000 followers overnight, that's entirely inorganic. It's just not how real growth works. So it's just a bad look. It's not something that we agree with, and we strongly value that kind of organic growth and grassroots movement. So Speaking of that organic growth, we are getting close to 10,000 followers on Twitter, all from that grassroots effort, which is awesome to see. In the last month, we far exceeded 1 million impressions on Twitter, so our reach is expanding. And just speaking anecdotally from, checking in on the Discord, we've seen a lot of new users in our Discord who are just getting introduced to Hedera DeFi and SaucerSwap. We've seen people coming over from Phantom, from other networks, so that has been great. We were really happy to see that. And then just like a quick note on engagement, typically you'll see a spike usually around an announcement or launch of a new feature, or for instance, August 3rd to 5th, the launch of our DEX, a huge spike in impressions and engagement. And those always, level off over time. Right now we're in that leveling off period. And as if you zoom out on the chart that tracks impressions, those spikes, as long as the project is growing, those spikes grow from one to the next. So we expect to see another spike of impressions when we roll out some of the next features. Single-sided staking, I think, is going to be a big milestone, and some of the other integrations we're currently working on.
Price performance generally follows from fundamentals, especially in a bear market when liquidity is scarce and investors have to allocate their capital more efficiently. So the team plans to strengthen Sauce token fundamentals by rolling out integrations that one would see on more established chains. These will ultimately give Sauce more utility. So as an example, we anticipate users eventually having the ability to borrow using Sauce as collateral, or to purchase NFTs on a marketplace. And in terms of core development, Sauce will adopt governance functions being used to create and vote on proposals, as described in our docs. So it is currently a farm token, of course, helping to bootstrap liquidity, but will soon gain a staking function analogous to Stater. And then this ties in directly into community pools, which are integral in expanding the HTS token economy.